What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Happy Thursday, everybody. Second video of the day. The first one was an interview that I managed to be a part of. It wasn't my interview per se, but Gonzalo Chavez did a Twitter space with Josh McDowell, the attorney that is leading the case of the Nazca tridactyls in the US. It was a great conversation. I managed to ask a few tough questions for Josh, and he was a good sport about it. So thank you to Josh for answering these questions. But I wanted to cover today something that I've been wanting to cover for the last couple of days. It is another tweet. It's a thread, actually, from Matthew Brown about the hearings and the most important and pressing questions that need to be asked after the hearings. And we're just going to go through the whole thread so you guys can check it out. As you guys remember, Matthew Brown was part of the hearing. He was right behind George Knapp when George was testifying under oath. And he came out with some really interesting questions from his own perspective of what he knows. So let's go through them one by one. So here it is. Matt says, the sworn testimony Congress received on September the 9th could be the crack in the dam. UAP transparency is possible and coming into view. To keep momentum going, Congress and the public should not ignore these key questions raised by the 5 witnesses' testimony. The first one is, of course, the black triangles. He says, who is operating the big black triangles? Why are they able to fly over US and Russian military assets with impunity? Is there a hidden pact between the superpowers, or is there a third force moving freely above both?
So the next slide, the third slide about, just jumps straight into the mission of the SAP and showing what apparently the results of that mission are. And it's a collection incident in the Pacific Ocean. The subject of collection is several Russian naval intelligence vessels in the middle of the ocean at night. And above those vessels is a large black triangle floating in the air. This is a still image, but it is color.
Okay, so that's the first kind of event, but what was the mission? What was the mission? That's what people want to know, is what was the mission of Immaculate Constellation as described in the product?
So in the product itself, you had to piece together the mission by reading the whole thing and kind of putting together the parts. It never spelled out fully, like as it should, the mission of the SAP. And I assume that's because this is a type of brief where there will be inserts to the deck, which would be inserted by the SAP control officer during the briefing that would provide another level of detail. But based on the information included in there and its description, the mission becomes apparent. And that is a bare minimum. It's the intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance mission of a global nature for UAPs and RVs, ARVs. The hesitation there is some time has passed. One of those acronyms is in there, either RV or ARV, and that is how the triangle in this case was labeled.
It's been 7 years, so as you're reading through this and that you're remembering RV or ARV just for our audience. So RV is reverse
reproduction
vehicle. Yeah. And the ARV would mean anomalous reproduction.
We see people in the literature say alien reproduction vehicle. It could just be anomalous
advanced
vehicle or advanced. It could be anything that can go after A.
So you don't know what that is.
I don't.
This is a pretty interesting image here.
It is. Right? And then the text that accompanies it describes the incident.
And what can you tell us about that?
The summary of that is just how it unfolded. I should actually back up and say the image itself was unique. This isn't by a plane or a satellite. It looks to be a image pretty close to the waterline. So something that to me read is we have a clandestine submersible asset close by this fleet, and it's taking pictures, trying to stay unnoticed. And so, yes, in the description, it basically lays out what occurred that night, which was that our collection assets were there in area monitoring Russian naval vessels Not sure what they're doing there, but they've been hanging out in the middle of the ocean in this place apparently for a few days. Keep an eye on them. And this night, while they are observing the Russian vessels, a large black triangle materializes or decloaks or something. The point is it did not move. It appeared directly above these ships, probably no more than 200 meters, pretty close. And interestingly, as noted in the report itself, there was no visible reaction from these vessels from what would almost certainly be considered a hostile approach.
What do you take away from that? They didn't notice it, or they're not upset about it, or they don't know what to do with it, or what?
So the implication also in the text describing it was, I should say the analysis in the text was that the Russian Navy had foreknowledge that this vehicle would appear in that area of the ocean, and they were there specifically to either collect on it themselves or to interact with it in some way.
Any indication that it might be theirs, that they knew it's going to be there because they control it?
Not in that document, and I haven't seen anything to make me think that they controlled that particular craft, but didn't see anything to the contrary either.
I guess it could be that they've seen it before, that there's nothing they can do about it, so don't get excited about it.
Might be, although it is interesting, if it's something that's part of their environment, as it were, why are they making an effort to be in this space at this time to collect on something they already know about?
Is it like in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, it's off the coast of Kamchatka, as I recall, in the Pacific Ocean.
That's what struck me. I mean, my mind goes to the idea that they were kind of camped out, deep kind of ocean in this one specific area durationally. It kind of implies to me, if I'm thinking outside the box here, there's some form of comms or communication with whoever the operators are of this craft. Am I going too far with that idea? Or?
I think it's a reasonable one to have, but it's not one that I can validate.
Yeah, let's be clear. You were exposed to something. We're just touching the basics here. We're theorizing. We're talking about a bunch of stuff we don't know, but the descriptions that you were exposed to kind of give you a little insight that we can at least look at some of those assumptions, right?
Right, absolutely. And I'm sure there's a literature out there that can help narrow down.
The second one is, where is the data? If men in suits sized the USS Nimitz UAP data in 2004, why was the crew of the USS Jackson allowed to keep theirs in 2023? Good question. Will Congress invite the Russian embassy to send a representative to speak about their historical UFO program? What legal authority allowed the U.S. officials to block the UFO material transfer between private parties? So this is Matt talking specifically about George Knapp's account of when Robert Bigelow attempted to get some materials from Lockheed Martin, and Mr. Glenn Gaffney blocked it. This is a picture of Robert Bigelow. I don't know what that means, but you guys can tell me. Matt, he gets a little cryptic sometimes. Another one that I think is perhaps the most important part of this entire thread, it speaks of UAP injuries. Just so you know, it says, any close encounter between a witness and a black triangle would be of interest to the legacy program. Given the U.S. government's history of human experimentation, what was the VA doing to Dylan Borland and why? The VA is the Veteran Affairs Office. This is an interesting one because I don't know if you guys remember, I spoke to Mr. John Burroughs twice already. The second time was with my friend Toby Martinez, and they've been working hard to get to speak to veterans who were injured by UAP, and they have largely been ignored, which I think is a great mistake. I do know that in the movie Age of Disclosure, we're going to get a little bit more information about these injuries. I do know that, and this is something that not a lot of people know about, there was an attempt before the hearings to get Kit Green to testify under oath. I know that this was brought to David Grush's attention, and Grush, according to what I'm told, expressed interest in it, but it was finally and ultimately ignored. And Jeremy Corbell's witnesses were the ones that came forward. But there was an attempt by an external party to get Kit Green to testify about this specific topic, about injuries on veterans from UAP, which is a real thing. There's already a paper trail that you can follow. John Burroughs has one of the few proofs on paper signed by a U.S. senator that a former military personnel was injured by UAP, and they got disability from that, and they're still getting it from that. So this needs to be talked about way more. And I am very happy that Matthew Brown is talking about it within the context of what Dylan Borland discussed. This slide is interesting because it pictures the human radiation experiments, the Department of Energy roadmap to the story and the records. And you can see many of the biggest laboratories from the Department of Energy that deal with this. You can see Livermore, Los Alamos, Oak Ridge, Rochester, Argonne, all of them. So that's an interesting one from Matt. I don't know where this is from. And this talks about something that I felt needed to be discussed a little bit more in terms of UAP injuries, because something that I felt it was consistent among people who are from the military and observed some type of UAP was that right after the incident, many of them report that they were injected with some kind of vaccine. I don't know why that is, but this is reported by multiple military personnel that witnessed the UAP. That is really strange, but I think that is something that needs to be investigated further. And then, love them or hate them, Washington's think tanks, the Blob, still set the boundaries of serious public policy. With Congress pressing disclosure, will the Blob finally treat UAP without stigma? Can think tanks lead by welcoming whistleblowers, engaging UAP without stigma, and opening their doors to new ideas? Interesting, right? And then finally, Matthew Brown says September 9th delivered the goods and left us with questions too urgent to dismiss. The public deserves answers, and the pressure must not stop there. And then Matthew Brown definitely deserves to get support because he has been struggling. He was very open about it in the latest Weaponized. And I think that you guys should support whatever he's trying to do, because he has information that he's sharing with people that nobody really knows about. And I think that if you can offer support to him, you should do it if you have the means to do it. Matthew Brown is going to be more present in the upcoming months. There is a part of the long interview that he recorded with Corbell and Knapp that talks about other issues. I don't know if you guys remember the tweet that must not be named, where he discussed the inclusion of AI into the UFO topic, where he called out publicly some Altman. Coincidentally, Altman himself was recently at an interview with Tucker Carlson, where Tucker pressed him about the whistleblower from OpenAI that was killed. And Altman wasn't able to show his poker face too much, even though Tucker Carlson's questions did not directly accuse Altman of anything. Sam Altman did take it as such. He took it as an accusation. And he very clearly felt alluded to when Tucker Carlson was asking about this whistleblower. And I think that part of that tweet that Matthew Brown wrote has to do with how artificial intelligence is slowly getting introduced and merged with the UFO topic. I don't know where that is going to take us. Matthew Brown keeps mentioning the Eye of Sauron. I think that when he says that, I think he means probably Palantir and probably Anduril as well. But I don't know if that's the case completely. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about these threats from Matthew Brown. these black triangles, man, they keep just appearing everywhere, and they keep just leaving more room to speculation. There are some that believe that these black triangles are ARVs. There are people who have seen them that feel they were completely anomalous and didn't feel mechanical at all. I find it really interesting that they're like taking center stage now, and everybody's talking about these black triangles now. Everybody has a story to tell about black triangles now. And I just want to know why. Why are these black triangles so prevalent now? And who made them? Where did they come from? Are they all anomalous? Are some of them ARB? These ARBs kind of feel like they're sort of like the black team craft. I don't know what you guys feel about that, but let me know what you think in the comments. I'll be reading. If you like the content you see, I'm going to ask you to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. That's all you need to do in order to help us, and it is what helps us the most, so thank you. But if you want to support us in other ways, there's a few links down there you can choose from. You can become a member on YouTube, or you can support us through KGRA. Anything you choose to do is always appreciated, so thank you. And that's it for me today on this video, but I'll see you guys in the next one. And remember, stay curious and inquisitive like Matthew Brown. I'm going to leave his Substack, the full breakdown, on the description so you guys can read it. But stay curious and inquisitive like him always. Bye.